All right, what we got going on here today, we pulled out the wood pellet burner mainly because the price of pellets rivals that of propane, at least going into this winter so far, and I expect propane to jump up much higher and potentially wood pellets as well. And I'm historically more of a wood burner type guy, and so I'm pulled out the wood pellet burner and I'm putting this low-pi Freedom insert in. And one of the things I had to determine is what I had for a stack going up the chimney, and it turned out to be a 4-inch stainless steel corrugated hose that was hooked up to the pellet stove. And I need to go to something that's a 6-inch here, so I had to find out what my options are. The existing chimney appears to be some sort of double-ended or double wall pipe, with the outer diameter is like a 10 or 12 inch and the inner diameter one is a 8-inch. And I could just neck that down coming into the 6-inch here. They make an adapter that goes from 8 to 6. It would be inserted on the ID of the pipe coming down, but anyway, the bottom line is you want the creosote, when it's hot, sticky, and fluid, to run back into the wood burner to get reburned if possible, rather than running on the outside of the pipe. So therefore you want the upper sections to go on the inside of the lower sections. But again, that might be contrary to what you think would work, because you think about the exhaust leaving and you would want that to go on the inside of the upper pipe. So I've seen that a couple different ways, but the right way is to do it with the upper pipe going into the lower pipe sections for creosote. Or you use this type of system where it's one continuous type of corrugated hose, or you use the Duravent style, the rigid insulated stainless steel piping or exhaust pipe, and that interlocks together and it's set up automatically to take care of your creosote so it runs back in the stove to get reburned, or at least collected. But I went ahead and I ordered, what I wanted to order was a 6-inch corrugated or flex pipe with the insulation pre-wrapped on it. And according to the pictures, it was just a 6-inch pipe with the outer batting wrapped around it, and it looked fine. And I knew that the inside diameter of that first pipe was 8-inch, so it would have been a 6-inch with a 1/2 inch of insulation, which would have made it a 7-inch total diameter, which would have been fine. But then when it showed up, and I actually like this design, it's got the inner 6-inch pipe, the insulation, and then an outer flex pipe as well, which I wasn't really planning on getting that. And the problem is this OD of this pipe is very, very close to the ID of that 8-inch. And so you can imagine how difficult that is to get in there. And according to the instructions, you're supposed to actually pull it from the top down, which we'll go out there and take a look at it here shortly. But I don't know what kind of acrobatic feats you have to pull off, or build scaffolding, or get man lifts or whatever to get up there to put this down the hole. And I get you have gravity helping you, and it keeps all the stuff from going in your eyes if you're down below, but it's just not going to work. I'm working off a ladder, and it's not something I was planning on doing. I guess if it comes to that, I'll do it, but we'll see. So this other situation is that I got it to start going up there, and I'm actually pulling it from above and pushing it and trying to keep it straight the best I can as it goes into the fireplace itself, but it's still hanging up and giving me a hard time. We tried to do it by hand where I was up above, and I had my son down here wiggling it and pushing it as I was pulling it, and it was just not going very well. And I'll show you guys what we got at this point that's helping us achieve this job today. So here's a 28-foot ladder, and that goes to the top of our chimney. And one little safety tip here, if you're ever working off ladders, especially if it's slippery, this morning it was wet, go ahead and put something down or have somebody stand on these feet. I've seen videos where these feet kick out on slippery surfaces and people come down, and I really don't want to ride down. It's only 15 feet, but I really don't want to ride down any more distance than I am tall, which is far enough, which is not even 6 feet, but that can hurt too. But they just got a couple 2x4s screwed down to the boards, and that keeps that from kicking out, so I feel a lot safer about that. Of course, aluminum ladders are nice and springy. If you haven't been on them, they're similar to going to an amusement park and having a ride, except you can do it for free. But what we ended up hooking up here was one of these 220 pound or 440, depending on how you have it blocked. And we do have a snatch block on the end, or a pulley, to give us that 440 if needed. And I think if we get to that point, we're going to end up tearing something out. But you can see what we have here. We have the very outer pipe, which I don't know if that even goes all the way down. I guess it does. Intermediate pipe, and then our 8-inch center pipe. Now that comes out the bottom and is flared into the chimney with a nice bull nose, which helps with pulling up my pipe. But I don't know really what it would take to get this out, and I guess that will be my next option, and try and go through this intermediate pipe, because I don't need all these now with that insulated stainless. But I was really hoping just to leave this in place, because I'm not sure how it's attached, and I'm not sure if I can even get at it to get it apart anymore without doing some major cutting. And I'm not sure how this is all supported, because you just can't see in there. I think it was all built in place first, and it's sort of set up in place, and some of the stuff built around it. I don't know. I'm not a home builder, and if I was, I probably wouldn't do things this way. But I had this hoist laying around on the 2x4, and I thought, well, if I can build a stand I can put above my chimney to help pull, that'll work. Now, one thing, you'll either need somebody else up here to help, or in this case I ended up wiring up a wireless transmitter relay system that's rated for the amperage that this motor can pull. And so I can operate this wirelessly, which is a big help. I can do everything from below. So I just thought I'd show you guys this. Now you might say, boy, this thing looks like a pain in the butt to get up here, and it is. It's not super duper heavy, but it's still probably 30-35 pounds, I'd say, maybe even 40. And so bringing this up the ladder isn't really the funnest, and I'm not really looking forward to taking it down either. And I may just lower it on a rope, or I may take it just down on my shoulder like I did when I brought it up. But for now, this is what we're using, and so far we're starting to make some decent progress. And I know you guys might not be able to see that, but this last section of pipe's got a little step in it, and I'm afraid that we might run into problems there, because if you look down there, and you can see, which I don't know if you can or not, there's really no clearance between that outer pipe and this one, although it does somewhat slide. And so it appears like we may actually pull this off if we're really lucky, and it's going to take a little bit of luck. I just thought I'd show you guys how this works if you ever run into this situation. Again, if we had to come out here and set it in from the top of the chimney without some sort of man lift or something, I just don't see that happening off a ladder. That stainless steel insulated hose it's not super heavy, but I wouldn't want to take it all up on a ladder, just because of it's not heavy, but it's bulky, and it creates some extra problems with trying to fish that in there and feed it in there. Plus you still got to pull it down, and it's definitely not just going to fall under the weight of gravity. But we ran it up here a couple feet so far, and I want to continue to do that. And here's our remote control for the winch or the hoist. And all I'm really trying to do is just trying to get this to go as straight as possible by bending it, and then I'll hit my button, and as you can see, it's pulling it up. but it is getting harder to go, and I'm afraid I may not be able to get it up as far as I'd like without it completely stopping. But it is going so far, and I'm maybe about a third of the way. And hopefully there's no screws or anything. There were a couple screws on the bottom here. I'm not going to show you because you can't see it anymore with the hose in there. But it's where that inner pipe comes down to the flared fitting on the bottom. There were screws that were put in from the outside. Can't get to those now, of course, or not without ripping something apart here. But I just cut them off on the inside using the 90-degree Dremel tool and cutoff wheel. And nipped those off, and there was some other tab sticking out for a piece of pipe, and I cut that off too. So I'm hoping nothing more is along the way on the way up, but we'll find out as we continue to pull this up. So we're going to continue to do this until either we get stopped or we get it all the way in, excuse me. So we're almost out of pull here anyway, so we're not going to be able to go up much farther. And we're almost there. So far so good. Our little clamps are holding out. As you can see, I just put these little tiny clamps, ran a rope around them. The reason I didn't put them across 180 from each other, I tried that at first, but when we put it in the first time, the pipe or the hose was catching on the side I put the clamps on, so I put them on both sides, and that got us to where we were. But ideally at this point I would have it on both sides 180 degrees apart. Okay, so yeah, we need to come up here yet about 1.5 feet or so.
Alright.
And then we'll be to where I think I can put the caps on and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and start taking some measurements, and so about 1.5 feet we'll be flush, and then we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with the cap. And it'd be really nice if I didn't have to cut any of that, but I'm afraid that we have too many feet yet and will need to be cut. So all right, well that's pretty much it. The rest is just kind of some busy work fitting everything all up together. We'll have to figure out how to get it the rest of the way. I may actually have to pick this up a couple feet somehow to get it to pull up more. I got a little bit of room yet before it trips the stop. I guess about a foot or so. And we'll just have to see what we can come up with. Maybe we can go down and grab it a little bit lower with the hook to pull it up the rest of the way. But just thought I'd show you guys that as an option, and showing that it can be pulled in from the bottom through the top, but you need something that's going to probably be able to provide a little more force, especially if you're pretty tight on the pipe you're going into. So thanks for watching. Thank goodness it's been a nice day so far, no rain. And we'll have to throw the cap on if we do start getting some rain and get our stuff put away. I want to end this video just showing you guys we did get this put in successfully, and the stack worked out great. Had a little trouble with the bypass. When we first made a fire, the corrugated hose expands when it gets hot and pushed down a little bit into the bypass, but just a couple operations and it seemed to clear it up. No issues going forward. The one thing I wanted to mention, just to kind of conclude this, is I usually buy everything used just to save off that initial sticker price of most things. This wood place inserts, a Freedom, low pipe Freedom. It's about a 2001 or so, I believe, is what the sticker said on it. And I'm guessing this new was somewhere in back in 2001, maybe the $2,500 range, and now it's probably, if they made them, or an equivalent stove is probably in the $35,000 to $4,000 range. And was able to pick this up at a pretty reasonable price that made it worth the effort. And I was able to sell the wood pellet stove, and so it was almost a wash. Pretty happy with that. But as with all used things that you buy, there's usually a couple questions you need to ask. Why is somebody getting rid of it? Of course, you like to hear things like, oh, it's too hard for us to burn wood anymore, but it was a good stove, it did everything we wanted. But in this case, not everything was 100%, and I ran into problems with the door gaskets. And when I went to look at this, when I bought it, it had a very good door gasket on it. It was complete, it wasn't torn, it wasn't falling down. And I thought, well, that's great, I'll just be able to put it in as is, won't have an issue. But one of the first things I found out when I built the fire is that there was virtually no control with the air inlet. Even when you shut that all the way off, the fire would just burn like inside of a blacksmith's forge. And there's some advantages to that. There's also some disadvantages. One of the big disadvantages, of course, you burn up all your wood in just an hour or two, and then you got to keep feeding it. So it runs hot, but it runs fast. And to get that energy out of the wood, you really want to burn it as slow as you can. Of course, you run into burning it too slow and low heat. You'll get creosote built up in the stack, and then you'll have to deal with the cleaning and a potential chimney fire because of that. So there's a balance in between. And typically with a freestanding stove, I'll get one of those magnetic thermometers that you put on the stack just to give you an indication of where you're at, and trying to keep it in that sweet spot of not making creosote, but then not running too hot and inefficient. In this case, the gasket looked good on the stove, and I again thought I was going to have no issue. When I put it into place, found out that there was actually a gap all the way around. When I went to close it, right along here, it was kind of hard to see. You can only really see it when you had a good fire inside, but almost all the way around the whole gasket was a gap where you could see the flames. And then the glass gasket as well, not sure what somebody did, but they didn't wrap it around both sides and then pinch it in between the inner door plate and the outer door plate, which resulted in a lot of air going in uncontrollably into the burner area, to the fire box, and just really made that difficult to control fire, which is not only dangerous, but as mentioned, you'll burn through a lot of wood that way. And so pay attention to that. Make sure your gaskets are in good shape. When they are, you should be able to at least see a noticeable difference. Right now it's all the way down. You can see when I push it in, flame picks up a little bit. Makes a bigger difference when you have more wood inside, more fuel. But you should have some controllability when you pull this out. You should see some effect on the flames starting to die when you pull that out. And ideally you'd be able to completely put it out, but you don't want us to get into a situation where you're creating a lot of smoke and creosote and not having enough energy to send those gases out the stack. So pay attention to that. And so far we're happy with the installation. We hope to save some money over the next few years, hopefully a couple decades, and pick up the wood here that we have around the property, dry it and have it for the season to at least offset some of the propane costs that we have here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.